that you and any other party have agreed to. The key word is enthusiastic, but I'll talk about that a little bit more later. So this applies everywhere. Obviously, it applies, most of us have probably heard of it more intimate, personal kind of things, but it also applies if you're walking on the street. If you're going to do something to somebody or do anything, it needs to be sensible. And it applies at conventions. There seems to be kind of a disconnect between conventions and our own lives, which in some cases is good. We can come here, forget about our problems, but we can't forget about consent. It's definitely non-gender, and that's something that is very important as someone who is gender fluid to kind of put out there. But it does not matter what your gender is, what you identify as, your sexuality, their gender, their expression. There is no exception. Just because you know maybe someone doesn't feel attraction towards your gender doesn't mean, oh, well, whatever, it's okay. It's not. Cosplayers are not their characters as much as some of us enjoy role-playing. At the end of the day, we are all humans. We all have brains. We all have emotions. And we have our own wants. We're all here just to celebrate our fandoms, dress up. We're not here to become objects for people to talk about or do things to. There's no reason to violate someone's consent. I very often get questions that start with, but what if? No. Just no. And like I said, it's an enthusiastic yes. If someone asks me if I want to do something, you know, hey, I want to take a picture, and I just kind of, that's not enthusiastic whatsoever, that's a no. There is no gray area with consent. And this can apply to touching somebody's props. If I say, hey, I want to take a picture with you, I really like your cosplay. It's not my time to, oh, this is really cool, and things break. It's not okay to do that. What we agreed was a picture. That doesn't mean I can start messing with the hair or anything like that. It is a bubble that you do not pop. You have agreed to these things and nothing else. It is definitely violating someone's consent if you take photography without their permission. If someone comes up to me, which I've had this a lot, they literally just click and walk away. That's not okay. Especially while eating. Especially while eating. That's definitely something. If you say, can I take a picture of your face, and they start putting their phone down, they are violating your consent. That's a no-go. What was the last one? Also, cosplaying, dressing up is not consent to be critiqued. It is not anybody's place to talk about anyone else's. Oh, I did? These are new. It's no one's place to show up, look at you in costume, and comment on someone's age, skill level, gender expression, race. Not your place. Cosplaying is not creating an open forum for people to talk about me or make any lewd comments. I hope that would be obvious, but it's not sometimes. So, like I said, definitely enthusiastic yes, no gray area. Consent is not a goal. You are not working to get someone's consent. You are not persuading someone to give you consent. It is a yes or a no, and it is entirely up to them. Are you waiting?
There's so many people.
There are people trickling in, and
come on
there are
in.
people that I was trying to get.
Come talk about consent with us. And it's not your place to change their mind. Is that all I have on my paper? Oh. How much time do I have still? 2. I might. Oh, another thing. People work really hard on cosplays. If you want someone's attention, don't go up to them and start grabbing them. And don't touch my flute.
Yeah, no.
Don't touch the flute.
All right.
Don't poof my floof.
I'm playing a little video.
you're still struggling with consent, just imagine instead of initiating sex, you're making them a cup of tea. You say, hey, would you like a cup of tea? And they go, oh my God, I would love a cup of tea, thank you. Then you know they want a cup of tea. If you say, hey, would you like a cup of tea? And they're like, I'm not really sure. Then you can make them a cup of tea, or not, but be aware they might not drink it. And if they don't drink it, then, and this is the important part, don't make them drink it. Just because you made it doesn't mean you are entitled to watch them drink it. And if they say no thank you, then don't make them tea at all. Just don't make them tea. Don't make them drink tea. Don't get annoyed at them for not wanting tea. They just don't want tea, okay? They might say, yes, please, that's kind of you. And then when the tea arrives, they actually don't want the tea at all. Sure, that's kind of annoying as you've gone to all the effort of making the tea, but they remain under no obligation to drink the tea. They did want tea, now they don't. Some people change their mind in the time that it takes to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk. And it's okay for people to change their mind. And you are still not entitled to watch them drink it. And if they're unconscious, don't make them tea. Unconscious people don't want tea. And they can't answer the question, do you want tea? Because they're unconscious. Okay, maybe they were conscious when you asked them if they wanted tea. And they said yes. But in the time it took you to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk, they are now unconscious. You should just put the tea down. Make sure the unconscious person is safe. And this is the important part again. Don't make them drink the tea. They said yes then, sure, but unconscious people don't want tea. If someone said yes to tea, started drinking it, and it passed out before they'd finished it, don't keep on pouring it down their throat. Take the tea away. Make sure they're safe, because unconscious people don't want tea. Trust me on this. If someone said yes to tea around your house last Saturday, that doesn't mean they want you to make them tea all the time. They don't want you to come around to their place unexpectedly and make them tea and force them to drink it, going, but you wanted tea last week. Or to wake up to find you pouring tea down their throat, going, but you wanted tea last night. But if you can understand how completely ludicrous it is to force people to have tea when they don't want tea, and you're able to understand when people don't want tea, then how hard is it to understand it when it comes to sex? Whether it's tea or sex, consent is everything. And on that note, I'm going to go make myself a cup of tea.
Woo!
Yay.
Safe.
Tea. We make it. I'm jumbling my words a little. So, when it comes down to it, you don't want to touch anyone without asking. That is the main thing. You don't go up to someone and randomly hug them. You don't glomp them. Glomp. You don't glomp them. You don't come up to someone and say, oh my gosh, I love your hair, and start pulling at, my wig or my ears. Because my ears are delicate, and I'm sure everyone has delicate things on them. Thank you. You don't come up to someone when they have LEDs on their prop, and you start pulling at the LEDs. You don't come up to someone, oh, we have a question. Hi, yes, you. Glomping? Okay, so imagine, glomping, okay, here. Glomping is someone, they don't know what's going on. And just come up and tackle them, hugging them, saying, oh my gosh, I love your character, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. The person can start freaking out. And when I have been glomped before, and I have been hugged surprisingly, and I have anxiety problems, you get scared, you don't know what's coming, you don't know what's around you. So and you start freaking out. And for a person with high anxiety, or whatever amount of anxiety, you can't rationalize it. It's not rationalized yet. So you start freaking out, and you start getting scared. And that is something that should never be at a convention. No one should ever feel scared. No one should ever feel unsafe. This is a time to have fun. As my friend was saying, we have brains. We're a character for an entire day, but we still have a brain to choose right from wrong. Now, when When your consent has been violated, what should you do? Well, what you can do is you can first kindly say, hey, can you not do that? That wasn't really, I didn't like that. And if they get mad because, they didn't want the tea, they didn't want it, you say, okay, I'm going to walk away from the situation. I'm going to leave. So you leave the situation. You don't make it worse, and you don't start an argument there, because then the convention won't be fun for anyone. The privileges that we once had will be taken away. And that's something we don't want to have. Yes, we need to make sure that we are courteous to everyone around us. Yes, sometimes our spaces get violated with the prop. Someone gets hit with a prop. You don't ignore when you hit someone with a prop. And you don't ignore when you ran into someone. Push them up against the wall and then keep walking. You say to them, oh my gosh, I'm not even oh my gosh. Say, I'm so sorry, are you okay? You don't just ignore them, because anyone gets offended by being rammed into a wall. Anyone gets offended by being rammed into. Anyone gets offended if they're hit with a prop. I've been hit in the back of the head with a prop, and it's not fun. And if they become unpolite, you can go to our lovely SAC, anyone in SAC Anime that has the nifty yellow shirts, or here we have
see someone with a staff badge.
With a staff badge. And you can go to them and say, this is what's happening, can you please help me? I've had some girls come up to me and will sit with me because there have been people that have followed them around, and their consent and the way and how they were was violated. They were being followed, and nobody wants to feel unsafe. Well, I think that I'm politely done, and I will pass the time over if anyone has any questions.
Oh, and to answer your question about the bonding, for short, it's also called tackle hug.
Yeah,
So-
tackle hugging.
Alrighty, next up we have Nick from Saffron Cosplay, talking about photography.
So, my name is Nick. I just play stand up. For any new people who have trickled into this panel, I would like to reiterate the fact that this is Cosplay Does Not Consent. Me specifically, I am talking about photographers and how to deal with photographers, and specifically photographers that push boundaries onto cosplayers. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I am a cosplayer and I have a tendency to cosplay rather risque type of characters. A lot of my characters don't wear a lot of clothes. As you can see, it's freezing outside and here I am. I've made mistakes, but we're all here. So, I've dealt with a lot of photographers, and while the majority of them are very, very nice, a lot of them are extremely polite, and they're very careful, and they will double, triple, quadruple check as to what my boundaries are. There are also a handful that don't. And when it comes to those people, you need to be vocal. You need to tell everyone, no matter who they are, no matter how many times they've said, oh yeah, I've cosplayed, or I photographed Jessica Nigri or Yaya Han, like I am the best photographer in the world. No matter how special they make you feel, if they make you feel uncomfortable in any way, if you don't want your butt being taken photos of, if you don't want your face being photographed, if you don't want anything, you need to tell them, this is not okay with me. And you need to be vocal. And if they get butthurt, then you need to tell a staff member or you need to tell someone. Anyone. It honestly could even be a random stranger. You need to go up to them and be like, this person is violating my rights. They are violating me. They are violating my person. I am not comfortable with what they're doing to me. You need to tell somebody because that is not okay. Because if you tell somebody that, like if you tell a photographer, oh yeah, I know I'm being skimpy, I know what I'm wearing, and they're just like, okay, cool, I'm still going to take an upskirt photo of you. No. Just no. That's not okay. And right now, I feel like someone wants to... Question? You have a question? Or? Oh, okay.
At the end of it.
But no, I've had a lot of issues with photographers. Sometimes they can even get as terrible as this sounds, like they can get kind of stalkery, because if you do not like talk about your rights, if you go into a photo shoot with someone and you do not make it clear as to what you're okay with and what you want to do, sometimes people will take advantage of that. They will, it's like, oh, you're wearing something skimpy, you want to do a shoot with me, I have every single right to take titty photos, take butt photos, like I wanted upskirts, I want to take panty shots, like everything from you. And I really know specifically from a lot of young cosplayers, people that have not been into this cosplay life a lot, sometimes they get blinded by the attention, and that's completely fine, because for a lot of people, me specifically, I know, like, when you're getting no attention in regular life, and then you put on a costume, and then there's tons of people that are just like, let me take photos of you, let me take photos of you. You get, like, so much, like, attention, and you're just like, this is fantastic. And then you get some photographers that are just like, oh my god, you're so fantastic, and you're blinded by this fake reality that they've created, and they're just like, let me take advantage of you. Let me take photos of you that you're not comfortable with. And a lot of young cosplayers, not knowing photographers in the community, not knowing what to do with the situation, they're just like, yeah, of course, you seem popular, you're nice to me, of course I'm gonna let you take pictures of my dress. And that's not okay. That's really not okay. And you can be blinded all you want, but if someone, it doesn't matter, if someone's like, I want to take photos of your shoes, and you're just like, do not take photos of my shoes, you need to tell them, this is not okay. This is not alright. And on this subject, there is something a lot of people tend to miss, because a lot of people, although it's okay, they tend to get blinded by themselves. If you see somebody hanging out with a photographer, and even if they make the slightest facial cue, just like, or like, yeah, sure, we can take photos, that's totally cool. If you see somebody and they do not feel comfortable, yeah, it might be awkward, yeah, you might want to, I don't know, but you should still go over and be like, hey, is everything okay? Or at least just watch them, because for all you know, someone's violating somebody else, and that's not okay to be. And on this topic specifically, I'm going to introduce Emma, because she is talking about how to not be a bystander and how to specifically watch out for other people. And I'm going to let her take over now.
Thanks, babe. Alrighty, guys, so like Nicole said, I'm going to talk about how to not be a bystander. And I think that this is so incredibly important, because we are a community who understands and loves every cosplayer. We are a community that sticks together. We're a family, and we have to start taking care of each other. Because if you allow people to violate consent, you are excusing their behavior. You cannot excuse people's behavior. This is not okay. You cannot be a bystander. You cannot allow your family to be treated like this anymore. We have to come together as a community and make sure that these issues stop. A simple, hey, are you okay? Or escorting people to photo shoots. Checking in on somebody. The buddy system. Call times. Even, as silly as this sounds for adults and people at a convention, curfews. Mm-hmm. You know, I got really caught up, sorry. We have to speak for each other, especially in a community where shyness, anxiety, and politeness are very prominent features and characteristics in each other. Every single one of you matters. Your consent matters. Your voice and your opinion, they matter. You guys can all make a difference by just standing up for somebody.
You don't have to know them. You don't have to be close with them. You don't even have to like them. I would never allow somebody I didn't like to have their consent violated. I don't care who you are. If you guys feel uncomfortable, say something. Talk to somebody. The people here at SAC Anime are all here to love, support, and help you. We all want to make and create such a safe and comforting environment. And if you guys don't say anything, we're not going to be able to help you. And if you can't speak for yourself, somebody needs to speak for you. If you know somebody, it is so easy to tell when somebody feels uncomfortable in a situation. It really is. People have very easy characteristics. And you just gotta speak up for each other. It doesn't matter who you are or what you cosplay. A violation of consent is never okay. It can be the simplest thing for someone continuing an inappropriate conversation for too long. You try to walk away. Help your cosplayers, help your friends, and help your family. Because if you don't, this problem will continue to grow, and there's nothing we can do to stop it unless we stick together. That's all I have to say.
Can I say something on that?
Yes.
Something that you said as to like, people really need to stick up for each other. Like, honestly, they really do. Like, if you see somebody in like a crisis, or even if somebody looks uncomfortable, I mean, you don't even have to talk to them, you don't have to go up to them, you don't need to do anything to them. But honestly, if, let's just say, like, in the very back corner of this room, you see two people talking, and one's a photographer, or even just one is a random patron, and then the other one is a cosplayer, and the cosplayer looks so uncomfortable, and they're just scared, and they're, like, you know, because we're all human, like, you know that this person does not want to be talking to that other person. Now, if you go about halfway up that wall, and you're just watching them, basically you make it known that someone is there. About 95% of the time, the person causing problems will stop. Because suddenly they're aware that people are watching them. Suddenly they know that my behavior is not appropriate because other people have been made aware of this. And that in itself is something extremely important in this community, because you don't need to know anybody, you don't need to know names, you don't need to shake hands, you just need to make yourself aware that if someone is causing someone else problems, that there are people around, and that is not okay. Because I feel like a lot of people have problems. Like, they're like, oh, I don't want to get involved. You don't have to get involved. You just need to make sure that people are okay. Because this is your family. This is your cosplay family. Like, you need to make sure that people are okay. Because what if you were in that situation? You would want people to make sure that you're okay. And I don't know, that's pretty much all I had to say on that topic.
I have one more thing.
So just on the topic of not being a bystander, and even in everyday life, my niece is in elementary school, and I go to pick her up a lot. And I saw this man outside talking to this little girl, and he had like a big van, and the little girl like looked kind of upset. So I went into the office, and I was like, something weird's going on outside. It was her dad. It turned out to be the little girl's father. Totally nothing weird, but you know what? I would rather make a complete fool out of myself and express that something might be happening than allow anybody to potentially get hurt or in trouble. We have to protect each other. That's bottom line. Because some people can't do it for themselves. And if you allow it to happen, you are just as guilty as those who do it. There is no excuse to violate anybody's consent or allow it to happen, ever.
I'd like to touch a little bit on something. So we all have social media, and if you know the SAC Anime page, you can say, oh yes, I will be there definitely, but it takes action. It takes actually going out and doing it. Yes, we can all say that, but we all have to have the action to go do it. And I think that's something that we all will do. And it just takes action. It takes one person, it takes one person speaking.
to change everything. I mean, look at history. There have been many people who have changed the world just by one person. Also, another subject that I want to touch on that's not consent is, as she said before, it's way back, I'm sorry. Should add this in a little sooner. When you were talking about how going up to someone and picking out, oh, that doesn't look good. Oh, you didn't sew that right. Yeah. Putting a cosplay on is being, that's basically the hardest step. You can see a person who's like wearing a cosplay and just saying, oh, that looks really good. You can make their entire day. Because sometimes it's hard for cosplayers to go out there and cosplay. Not every one of us thinks, hey, I mean, there are some people who think they're the sexiest person alive. Oh, but me personally? Oh, no, I don't think so. You go out there and you see a cosplayer, and even you just go out there and say, hey, you look great, or, you know, just give out a compliment, because it's hard for cosplayers to go out there. It's hard for anyone to go to a big convention and be here, and that's why we all need to look out for each other. That's it.
I mean, I'm currently eating my cosplay, so it's delicious. And
Woo!
Okay, we're gonna. Do you have anything to say, Mr. Joe?
There's a lot of people that came in between the time that you guys started and when I
Of
first
course.
spoke, so
Yeah, please.
I just want to reiterate, if you guys have problems, if you see something happening, you need to communicate that to the staff, to a gold shirt, to somebody. We cannot fix the problem, or we can't take any type of action if we don't know about it. We've had issues in the past that we've been berated for and put down for and told us that our show is terrible because these actions aren't taken care of. We weren't told about them. So we need that information. Find a gold shirt, find me if I'm walking around, find somebody with a staff badge, and if you see something inappropriate or if something inappropriate happens to you, the signs out there say harassment, period. Physical, verbal, sexual harassment, anything, harassment. If you see that, experience it, you need to let us know so we can help you and help take care of that problem and remove it from our show. Because we put on this show for you guys. We're fans, we got together, we put it together, and we're giving it to you as fans. We're sharing our enjoyment with you guys, you're sharing it with us. We put this show together for you, and we want you guys to be safe, we want you guys to have fun. So if something is wrong and that's not happening, you need to let us know.
I just really want to say, I'm probably repeating myself, but if anything happens, anything in the slightest bit that makes you uncomfortable, or you see something happen to someone that makes them uncomfortable, go to somebody. Go to somebody. If someone, honestly, even if someone's like, it's the stupidest thing, like, I want to take pictures of shoes, and you're just like, I don't want my shoes taken pictures of. Just, honestly, go to somebody, because it will matter. Because for all you know, it might be something little to you, but it could be something giant to somebody else, and this person might be a serial offender. You really need to take care of people, and you really need to go to anybody if anything makes you uncomfortable.
Looks like we have people to. Yep. Okay, so we're gonna open it up to Q&A. Anybody who has questions, please come line up behind the adorable little girl on the front.
Anything at all. Like,
Yep,
literally
please
anything
line
in
up,
this life.
ask questions. We want to answer. We want to know what you guys think. Even if it's a
Anything at all.
comment or a discussion topic, like, let us know. We are here for you guys. Is it on there? Yeah, you go.
Cool. So I just want to touch on something from another. Sorry. As another attendee, a couple of conventions ago, I was harassed and I talked to a vulture and just wanted to share, like, they actually do something. I was approached by this man. I was just at this desk in the Salmon comics, and this man approached me and grabbed my necklace and said, "Oh, I like your necklace. What does it mean?"